There is a stranger that lives inside each of us, an entity hidden in the deepest corners of the psyche, a monster, a shadow. Perhaps you felt its presence in those strange, unnerving moments when you are no longer the one in control. Have you ever startled yourself with your own reaction? A sudden, violent surge of anger over something trivial, a rage that feels alien, as if it belongs to someone else, leaving you in the aftermath to survey the wreckage and ask a terrifying question: who was that? Have you ever watched yourself enact a clear pattern of self-sabotage, just as you approach the finish line for that job, that relationship, that inner peace? An invisible hand yanks the emergency brake. You miss the opportunity. You say the wrong thing. You simply find a way to fail. It's as if a part of you doesn't want you to win. And why do certain traits in other people ignite such a firestorm within you? Their arrogance, their laziness, their desperate need for attention. What is it about them that acts as a splinter in your soul? These are not random glitches in your character. They are not fleeting moments of weakness. They are the footprints of that stranger. The cost of ignoring it is steep. It's paid in broken relationships, poisoned by misunderstanding and sudden rage. It's paid in golden opportunities, abandoned out of fear you cannot name. It's paid in a life lived with the constant gnawing feeling of being an imposter, a fear that if anyone were to truly see behind the mask, they would turn away in disgust. You have been taught to fear this monster, to deny it, to chain it in the deepest dungeon of your mind. But what if I told you that your greatest weakness is, in fact, a doorway to your most profound strength? What if, to master yourself, you must first confront this monster, not to slay it, but to understand it, to bring it to heel, and ultimately to harness a power you never knew you possessed?
This is not an uncharted path. Long before us, a great explorer mapped this very realm. In the early 20th century, as psychology was still finding its footing, a Swiss psychiatrist and maverick thinker named Carl Jung dared to stare into this abyss. He was a cartographer of the soul. And unlike his contemporaries who saw this darkness merely as a pathology to be cured, Jung recognized its hidden potential. He gave it a name, a simple yet profound name: the shadow. So what is it, the shadow? Imagine your personality is a planet. The side facing the sun of your consciousness and society is the lit hemisphere. This is the you that you present to the world, the polite, rational, acceptable version of yourself that Jung called the persona. But every planet has a dark side, a hemisphere that the light never directly touches. This is the realm of the shadow. The shadow is your personal unconscious. It is the psychic basement where you have exiled every part of yourself that you deem unacceptable. Since childhood, we are taught what is good and what is bad. Don't be angry, don't be jealous, don't be selfish. Every time we received these messages, we sliced off a piece of our authentic self and threw it into that basement. Our natural rage, our primal envy, our lust for power, our laziness, it all went down there. But here is the critical revelation, the one that changes everything. You did not only banish your negative traits to the shadow, you also buried your gold there. This is the concept of the golden shadow. Perhaps you were a boy raised in a family where showing emotion was a sign of weakness, so you exiled your own tenderness and empathy. Perhaps you were a girl taught to be nice and agreeable, so you cast your fierce ambition and assertiveness into the darkness. Perhaps your wild, nonconformist creativity didn't fit the rigid standards of your school or your family, so you suppressed that vibrant artistic spring as well. Your shadow, therefore, contains both your demon and your stolen treasure. It is both your weakness and your latent power.
And this monster does not remain silent. Energy is never destroyed. It only changes form. When you lock the basement door and pretend it doesn't exist, the pressure begins to build, and that energy finds a way to leak out sideways. This is where the most dangerous psychological mechanism comes into play: projection. Projection is the unconscious act of seeing your own disowned shadow in other people. When you vehemently deny a trait in yourself, your mind, in order to preserve your ideal self-image, will cast that trait onto the screen of the outside world and see it in the faces of others. Think back to those initial questions. That sudden rage? That is your caged shadow breaking its chains for a moment to take control. That pattern of self-sabotage, that is your shadow of unworthiness, whispering that you don't deserve success. And most importantly, that trait in others that drives you mad, that is your greatest clue. We do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. That arrogant coworker you despise? Perhaps they're mirroring a powerful ambition within you that you were taught to see as ugly or selfish. That lazy friend who infuriates you, perhaps they reflect a part of you that is screaming for rest, a part you've silenced in your own relentless pursuit of productivity. You despise them because they allow themselves to be the very thing you forbid in yourself. This internal war against the shadow is a war you can never win. You cannot annihilate half of your own being and expect to be whole. The more you suppress it, the darker, more hostile, and more potent it becomes. The key, therefore, is not to slay the monster. That is impossible, and it is self-destruction. The key is integration. The key is to bravely walk toward the psychic basement, open the door, and for the first time, look carefully at what you have hidden there. It is to face the monster, listen to its story, and understand why it exists, and then to lead it out of the darkness and into the light, so its raw energy can become your conscious fuel. This sacred and often terrifying process is known as shadow work.
But knowledge alone is not enough. Philosophy without action is a mere illusion. Now that you hold the key, you must walk the path. You must descend into the underworld of your own psyche and return, not only unharmed, but stronger. This is not a simple list of tips. This is a 4-stage alchemical process. 4 stages for transforming the lead of your darkness into the gold of your true self. This is your guide to mastering the shadow. Stage 1. Tracking the monster. The art of neutral observation. The first step is the most courageous, because it asks you to do the one thing you've been trained your entire life to avoid: to pay attention. You must become a detective at the crime scene of your own soul. Your inner monster leaves footprints. Your task is to find them. There are 3 primary clues. The first clue: explosive emotional reactions. We are not talking about everyday frustrations. We're talking about that incandescent, disproportionate rage. That searing jealousy that paralyzes your logic. That sudden, gut-wrenching anxiety that consumes you. Whenever the intensity of your emotional reaction does not match the external trigger, you know you found a fresh footprint. Your shadow has been touched. The second clue: compulsive and harsh judgments. Listen to your own thoughts and conversations. How quickly do you label others as stupid, lazy, arrogant, or weak? This self-righteous impulse, this need to diminish others, is often a defense mechanism. You loudly condemn in someone else what you silently fear might be true of yourself. Every harsh judgment is a neon arrow pointing at a denied aspect of your shadow. The third clue is more subtle: extreme admiration or awe. This is the footprint of your golden shadow. When you find yourself utterly captivated by someone's courage, their freedom, or their creativity, you are often witnessing your own suppressed potential. That part of your shadow isn't negative, but it's a part of you that you've disowned for some reason. That intense admiration is your soul's longing for a part of itself that it sees expressed in another. To put this stage into practice, you need one tool: the shadow journal. This is not a diary. This is a detective's logbook. Every day, or whenever you spot one of these clues, write down 4 things. 1. The trigger. What happened? What was said or done? 2. The emotion. What did I feel, precisely? Rage, contempt, envy, or anxiety? 3. The judgment or admiration. What quality in the other person did I condemn or praise? 4. The 1% question. Is there just a 1% possibility that this quality also exists in me in some form, even if I don't act on it, even if it's only a thought? Answer this question with brutal honesty. This is the beginning of the confrontation.
Stage 2. Opening the dialogue, from judgment to curiosity. Now that you've identified the footprints, you must approach the monster. In this stage, we shift from the role of the judge to the role of the curious investigator. The goal is not to condone or encourage negative behavior. The goal is to understand. You must ask yourself this fundamental question: what is this part of me, this anger, this envy, this fear, trying to tell me? What need is going unmet? To do this, we use a powerful Jungian technique called active imagination or internal dialogue. Find a quiet time and place where you will not be disturbed. Close your eyes. Take one of those shadow emotions from your journal. Let's say your anger. Allow this anger to take on a form in your mind's eye. Perhaps it's a wild beast, a raging fire, or a human figure with a contorted face. Don't judge it, just observe it. Then, begin the dialogue. Ask this being in your mind questions, respectfully but firmly. Ask, who are you? Why are you so angry? What are you trying to protect? What do you need from me? And the most critical part is listen. Listen to the answers that arise from the depths of your own mind. Perhaps the anger tells you, I am angry because you let people cross your boundaries. I am here to protect you because you won't protect yourself. Perhaps that laziness you condemn in others, in your own inner dialogue, tells you, I am the voice of the part of you that is utterly exhausted. You are burning yourself out, and I'm trying to pull the brakes before you crash. This is not psychosis. This is a structured method of accessing your own unconscious wisdom. You are talking to your shadow not to surrender to it, but to finally understand its message.
Stage 3 is integration, the alchemy of the soul. This is where the true transformation occurs. Once you identify the shadow and understand its message, you must reclaim its raw energy and consciously put it to constructive use in your life. This is turning the poison into the antidote. Let's look at a few concrete examples. The alchemy of anger. Through your shadow work, you discover your rage comes from a lifetime of never learning to say no. You have always sacrificed your own needs to please others. The monster of rage is the guardian of your boundaries. To integrate it, you don't become a perpetually angry person. On the contrary, you take the energy of that rage and you transform it into healthy assertiveness. You learn to say calmly and respectfully, but firmly, no, I cannot do that. Or, that behavior is not acceptable to me. The guardian monster no longer needs to scream,
because you, the ruler of the kingdom, have finally started listening and defending your own borders. The alchemy of envy. You write in your journal that you're envious of a friend's career success. In your inner dialogue, the shadow reveals its deep frustration with your own wasted potential. You have ambition, but you're paralyzed by a fear of failure. Instead of letting that envy poison you and your relationship, you integrate it. You look at it as a compass. It is pointing directly at something you want. You then take its raw energy and, instead of using it to destroy, you use it to build. You transform it into focused ambition. You make a plan, you learn the skills, you take the first step towards your own goals. The monster of envy becomes the engine of your progress. The alchemy of fear. Perhaps your shadow is a timid, anxious creature, terrified of judgment. This fear keeps you from speaking up, from pursuing your art, from being your authentic self. When you talk to this fear, you learn it's terrified of rejection. It's terrified of not being good enough. Integrating this shadow doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It means you embrace the fear. You say to that part of yourself, I see you. I know you are scared, but I will no longer lock you in the basement. I will act and I will take you with me. This act transforms fear into authentic courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of fear. And over time, this breeds a natural charisma because you are no longer afraid of being found out. You have already found yourself, all of yourself, and accepted what you found.
Stage 4. The path of mastery, the lifelong dance. And finally, the 4th stage, which is more of a mindset than a stage. Shadow work is not a project with a deadline. You will never reach a point where you can say, it is done, I have completely tamed my shadow. This process, which Jung called individuation, is the lifelong journey of becoming a whole, undivided self. The layers of the shadow are endless. Every time you reach a new level of consciousness, you will encounter a new, deeper shadow. This is not a war to be won, but a dance to be learned. Sometimes you will lead, sometimes your shadow will. The goal is to learn the steps so well that the dance becomes a seamless, powerful expression of your total being. And this is the final, crucial point. The goal of this journey is not to become a perfect person, free of flaws. Such a person is an illusion. The goal is to become a whole person, one who has acknowledged their darkness, claimed their light, and integrated all facets of their being into a symphony of authentic existence. This is the path of self-mastery.
We began this journey in the darkness, facing a monster we were taught to fear. We discovered the key in the wisdom of Carl Jung, realizing this monster was merely a reflection of our own lost self. And we walked the fourfold path of recognition, dialogue, and integration. Now you know the truth. The monster within is not your enemy. It is your most powerful ally, disguised in darkness. It is the guardian of your boundaries, the compass of your desires, and the source of a raw energy that can either build your world or burn it to the ground. The choice is yours. Remember, do not slay your dragon. Tame it, so you may ride upon its back to heights you never imagined possible. And now, I leave you with a question to carry into the silence that follows this transmission. Be brutally honest with yourself. What is one quality you vehemently despise in others that might be the echo of gold hidden within your own shadow? This is a solitary path, but we do not walk it alone. We are a fellowship of seekers in this digital space. In the comments below, declare your first step. Use the code word integration to signal your commitment to this path. Will you start a shadow journal? Will you initiate a dialogue with your anger? Will you investigate an old envy?
Let our collective wisdom be a beacon for one another in the dark. You have taken the first step into your personal underworld. You have faced your own likeness in the dark. But you are not yet ready to face your opposite, the sacred masculine and feminine energies that lie dormant within you, shaping your attractions, your relationships, and your very destiny. Subscribe to the channel, and more importantly, activate the bell of notification. The journey is far from over. It has only just begun.